What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sick Eric Tech, and today we are going to be doing a rather odd comparison. We're going to be comparing the Galaxy S24 Plus to the Galaxy Z Flip 5 when it comes down to the specs. We're going to be going on over everything about these two devices, throwing a little bit of camera comparisons in there and the display comparisons as well. Before we get started, go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate that a lot. And let's go ahead and jump down into it. So we got the S24 Plus and the Galaxy Z Flip 5. Both were $1,000 phones when they first came out. Of course, there was trade-in deals. You could probably get these for way cheaper than the actual asking price. Going on over to the Galaxy Z Flip 5. So as far as dimensions go, when it's unfolded, 6.5 inches tall, 2.8 inches wide, and 0.27 inches thin. Very thin device when it is open, very tall and skinny device, but when it's closed, which is the gimmick of this device, 3.35 inches tall, 2.83 inches wide, and 0.59 inches thin. So very compact, of course, very different form factor than the actual Galaxy S24 Plus, as you can see right there. But the whole gimmick is that you can open it up and it can be just as tall, maybe just a little bit taller than the S24 Plus, but a little bit skinnier than the actual S24 Plus as well, and thinner. So there you go for the dimensions. It comes in at about 6.60 ounces when it comes down to the weight. You get a plastic display on the front. It is a glass with a plastic covering on the display. That way you can fold it. Of course, IPX8 water and dust resistance, 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes. No dust resistance on this, of course, just because of the whole folding hinge on here, so no actual dust resistance. Armor aluminum frame going along the edges, and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back of the actual device and on the front display as well. Now the whole gimmick of this is going to be the display. When it comes down to your secondary display on here, it will actual display your messages and things like that, and you get your notifications over here. You can go over here for all your apps and open up certain apps on here as well on the display. So that's really cool that you get all of these different options for this actual display, so you don't have to open up your phone on here. And then of course you could go back, you could open up the camera on here as well and take some shots using this actual front display as your viewfinder. So that's mainly the gimmick for the Z Flip, is going to be having it fold and having this outer display to do little things that way you don't have to open up the device and distract yourself, you know, from things like that, from life and everything like that. So the actual front cover display is actually really cool and really useful when taking videos. You're actually going to utilize these better cameras rather than the inner camera for photos and videos. Going on over to the S24 Plus, 6.24 inches tall, 2.99 inches wide, and 0.30 inches thin. So as you can see, very nice big device. The weight comes in about 6.91 ounces. Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front and on the back, with the Armor Aluminum 2 frame along the edges. It is IP68 dust and water resistance, 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes on here. So you get actual dust resistance on this, while on this is just going to be water resistance. Going on over to the displays of both of these guys. So this one, of course, you get two displays. The inner display is going to be a foldable dynamic AMOLED with 120 Hz, supports HDR10 plus, and it gets a peak brightness of 1750, and it is 6.7 inches, 1080p by 2640 with 425 pixels per inch. It has about 85 to 9% screen to body ratio, so you can see them bezels are a little chunky on here considering it is a newer device. Cover display 3.4 inches, 720 by 748 Gorilla Glass 2 with 306 pixels per inch on this front cover display. Going on over to the Galaxy S24, you get a 6.7 inch dynamic AMOLED display with 120 Hz as well. Supports HDR10 Plus, gets a peak brightness of 2600 nits, 1440 by 3120, and has 513 pixels per inch. On here, covered in Corning Glass Victus 2. Of course, you get an always-on display. You get an always-on display on here as well on the outer display and on the inner display, which is a little weird since it is closed most of the time, but you do get always-on displays on both. So that's fantastic. And always-on display over here. Very nice displays on both of these, especially on the inside. Very good. The only thing I hate about the ZFlip 5 is that reflection and that crease. Very noticeable on a ZFlip. It is a very reflective display, and that crease can be annoying, especially if you're outdoors. You can hardly see this thing outside in the sunlight. It is just very reflective. The cover display, while it is easier to look at, it does not get as bright. So you could see outdoors, you'll be able to do okay, but it definitely does not get as bright. You're gonna have to open up and use the inner display if you want to see anything outside. Both of these guys are running Android 14. The ZFlip came with Android 13 out of the box. You get One UI 6.0 on the ZFlip 5, One UI 6.1 on the S24 Plus, and there are some differences, but not very many. Mainly it's going to be in performance and the animations for all of these. So not much of a difference on how they look between the two, One UI 6.1 and 6.0. You get the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 on the ZFlip 5, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and this is the 512 gigabyte of storage. You also got a 256 gigabyte of storage, UFS 4.0. Over here on the S24, you get the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor with 12 gigabytes of RAM, and this is the, again, 512 variant version of this. You get the Adreno 750 on the S24 Plus, and you get the Adreno 740 on the ZFlip 5, UFS 4.0 on the S24 Plus as well. So performance wise, these are actually both pretty good. I'm gonna have to say that the S24 comes in a lot better when playing games and editing videos and just scrolling around on a device. It is a very snappy, fast device, and with that One UI 6.1, animations just make this thing look smooth and buttery. While on the ZFlip, you do get some stutters here and there, just because it does not have, only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. But it's still a fast and capable device. I've edited so many videos on this. I've used this as my main camera to do videos, and it does just fine with editing stuff. Playing games, I don't play games, so I wouldn't know. So performance wise on both of these are going to be more than what you need when it comes down to normal stuff and doing things, scrolling the internet, taking some videos, and playing games and stuff like that. These are more than adequate to handle things like that. So no issues with performance on these. I would say that the S24 comes in and beats the ZFlip just by a little bit. Going on over to the cameras, so the ZFlip 5 just has two cameras on the rear. They are both 12 megapixels. You get a main sensor on the rear with OIS and PDAF. You get an ultra wide with 120-degree field of view, and it is also a 12 megapixel. Can record up to 4K, 30 and 60 frames per second on the ZFlip, so no 8K support apparently over here. Your front facing camera is going to be a 10 megapixel, and it does record up to 4K 30 frames per second. So you do get 4K on front and back, but these are very small cameras. In other words, this phone is not meant to take pictures and video. It's meant to fold and to go to your pocket and be compact. These cameras are just here just to get you by, but these cameras are still really good when it comes down to taking pictures and video, and you get a lot of different options with this cover screen, they're able to use everything and to utilize this cover screen and sort of use it as a tripod and things like that. It comes in very handy for those cameras to have this set down on the table, and you could actually, you know, take video and you could do it hands-free, which is really cool. Going on over to the S24 Plus, you get a 3-camera setup, 50 megapixel main sensor, does support optical image stabilization. You get a 10 megapixel telephoto lens, and it does have 3 times optical zoom with OIS as well. 12 megapixel ultra wide with 120 degree field of view. You can record all the way up to 8K, 24 and 30 frames per second on the S24 Plus. The front facing camera is going to be a 12 megapixel, does support PDAF, and you can record up to 4K, 30 and 60 frames per second with this front facing camera. So that is fantastic. And as far as cameras go, I think they go blow to blow. Sometimes the ZFlip might look better when it comes down to dynamic range and the shadows, while over here on the S24, things tend to look a little washed out sometimes, especially outdoors in the sunlight. Things just look too bright on the S24 Plus, and hopefully there is a fix from Samsung for that. But over here, you actually, the shadows and everything actually look a little bit better sometimes on the ZFlip 5. So let's go ahead and take a look at some camera samples of both of these devices, that way you get an idea of the cameras. All right, so here we got rear facing camera of the Galaxy Z Flip 5, 4K, 30 frames per second. Just giving you an idea how this looks in the well lit area. Now, I would go outside, but it is kind of raining and crappy out there, so everything is going to be done inside, unfortunately. But yeah, here's the rear facing camera of the Galaxy Z Flip 5. Now let's go on over to the Galaxy S24 Plus's rear facing camera. And now here we got the Galaxy S24 Plus camera in a well-lit area. Rear facing camera, 4K, 30 frames per second. Now keep in mind, these are both using the internal on-device microphones, no external mics on these. That way you also get an idea of how each one sounds with their own onboard microphone. So let's go ahead and continue. Let's go on to front-facing footage just to see how that looks as well. Alright, so here we got front-facing footage of the Galaxy S24 Plus, 4K 60 frames per second, just to see the differences between rear and the front-facing camera. Now I think they both look pretty good, especially in well-lit areas. I don't know how things may look too bright sometimes, especially outside, so that could be a thing as well. So let's go on over to the Galaxy Z Flip 5's inner display camera, just so you guys can see the differences between the two devices. And here we got the Z Flip 5's inner display camera, front-facing selfie camera, and again 4K 60 frames per second. That way you guys can tell the difference between the two. Which one looks better, the S24 Plus or the Galaxy Z Flip 5? Comment down below. I would really love to hear your comments on which cameras look better. Let's continue on with this comparison, shall we? Alright, so what did you guys think of the camera qualities on both of these? I think the S24 Plus gives you a little bit more options with the telephoto, the ultra wide, and you get that 50 megapixel main sensor. So the details are going to be a little bit stronger, especially when cropping into photos. While over here in the Z Flip, it's more of a versatile kind of camera. It's going to get the job done, but it's not going to wow anybody. It's mainly going to be all of these little features with the folding display and using your cover display as a, you know, viewfinder. That's just mainly what this device is for. The cameras are just there to get you by, but the whole gimmick of this is going to be the you know, folding and the compactness of the Z Flip 5. So yeah, comment down below on which one you think did best with cameras and the video and the pictures. I think, like I said, the Z Flip looks a little bit better sometimes, but the S24 is going to have more detail when it comes down to photos. Now, both of these devices do have stereo speakers, and they are both tuned by AKG. So you also do get Dolby Atmos on both of these, so that's fantastic. You get auto, movie, music, and voice, and you also do get other options with adapt sound. You get equalizer modes on both of these, so that's fantastic as well. And as far as speaker quality goes, whoa, we might be leaning more towards the S24 Plus, just because it is a larger device. It gives more room internally for that sound to resonate from, while over here on the Z Flip, it is a very thin device. So let's go ahead and take a listen of the speakers of these devices. Alright, so what did you guys think of the speaker quality? Like I said, I think the S24 Plus might be coming in a little bit ahead, sound a little bit more fuller and louder, while the Z Flip will get the job done, but it's not as loud and full and with detail. You get Wi-Fi 6E on the Galaxy Z Flip 5. All over here on the S24, you get Wi-Fi 7. Bluetooth 5.3 on both of these, so that's fantastic. USB Type-C 3.2 on the Z Flip and on the S24 Plus. Now the S24 Plus, you do get an in-display ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is very fast and very accurate when it comes down to unlocking your device, and very secure, just because it is an ultrasonic and it does not just take a picture of your fingerprint. While over here on the Z Flip 5, you get a capacitive side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which is also very accurate and easy to get to. It is right on the power button, and it's also very fast. But I would say that the in-display ultrasonic might be a little bit more secure when it comes down to unlocking your device. Both of these do have facial recognition, so you can have this device unlock with your face. And the cool thing about the Z Flip, it works when it is closed and it works when it is open as well, so that is pretty cool. With that dual face unlocking, you have these cameras to open it up, and then you also have this camera to open your device up, so that's really cool. Facial recognition over here on the S24 Plus as well. Batteries is where these two devices will differ a lot. So the Z Flip 5, you get a 3700 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt wired charging, 15 watt wireless charging, and 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging on the Z Flip 5. Over here on the S24 Plus, you get a 4900 milliamp hour battery, 45 watt wired charging, 15 watt wireless, and 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging. Now over here you can go as far as 65% in 30 minutes from 0, while over here you could get up to 50% in 30 minutes. So a little bit of a difference when it comes down to charging and charging speeds. Now battery life, the S24, there's hands down is going to be a longer lasting device, just because it is a larger battery. While over here on the Z Flip, definitely not an all-day device. You're gonna have to find yourself charging this thing towards the end of the day, maybe even sooner than that, just because the battery life is just so weak over here on the Z Flip 5. It's not even 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So the S24 Plus coming in a lot longer with a full day from morning till bedtime. While over here on the Z Flip, you're probably gonna have to be charging this thing around dinner time and overnight for the Z Flip 5. So battery life, hands down, S24 Plus. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick comparison between the Z Flip 5 and the S24 Plus, both $1,000 smartphones. And I thought this would be a nice, cool, different comparison between the two devices. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, give this video a thumbs down. That is quite alright. And I'll see you next time here on Sick Eric Tech. Peace.